with authority. Welcome to a special emergency edition of the With Authority podcast. Larry Beil, along with Casey Pratt, and joining us is ABC7's Chris Alvarez. And emergency feels like the right phrase here because for the past couple of weeks, maybe if people were not taking the coronavirus seriously, it got real today for everybody, I think. And just to do a brief chronology of the past, 72 hours or so, or a little bit longer than that. On Saturday, I think it was, the Warriors decided that they were going to play in front of fans at Chase Center, despite the city of San Francisco suggesting strongly that they not allow fans in the game or just cancel the game. And the Warriors said, we're good. And the Sharks did the same thing after the Santa Clara County officials suggested to them that they either not play or not have fans in. So we had that, and then San Jose came down and said, okay, this is not a suggestion anymore. You're not playing in front of fans. And then today, as we record, Wednesday, the city of San Francisco said the same thing. So we were all planning on a no-fan game for the Warriors on Thursday against Brooklyn. And then in the last few hours, things just started happening in rapid-fire succession in real time, almost to the point where it was like sensory overload. Yeah. Because one of the first things that happened was actor Tom Hanks, who's from the Bay Area, and his wife, they came out and tweeted that they had contracted the coronavirus in Australia, and so that's like the first big-name celebrity to come down with this. And then while the NBA held some meetings earlier in the day to discuss their plans going forward, word came out that Rudy Gobert, the Jazz center, had tested positive for coronavirus, and we're thinking, well, how's the league going to go forward? And then, I don't know what it was, 2 minutes later?
Moments later.
Yeah,
the league so fast.
The whole season has been suspended for now, and we have no clarity as to how this is going to proceed from here on out. One would think that we're at a minimum of 2 weeks because that's the normal quarantine period, and that's what we've seen with people coming off of the cruise ship, which is now in the port of Oakland. So, man, it's just so overwhelming to process all of these things. What are your guys' just initial reactions?
Well, Chris can go first because he was actually at Warriors today as everything started unfolding with the whole act of playing a game without any fans. And in just a few short hours, it changed so quickly. But, I mean, how shocked were those guys?
Well, I think for me it started yesterday when I go to the game, and I mentioned to you that the seats were, let's call it half full at best. And so you felt an eeriness or an air in the arena that there's something going on. The fans are staying away. And so we were talking amongst the media people about, this seems weird. And then you go in today on Wednesday, and things have already changed as far as protocol, as far as when you interview people. Normally we'll interview them outside or we'll get to see practice, so I made sure to get there early. I want to see, my concern at the beginning of the day was, is Steph Curry shooting around? You want to get video of Steph.
I mean, that's how innocent today started. Is Steph going to play?
Yeah, is Steph going to play? Every game it's Steph video. And you go into the interview room, and then you see some of the PR people there, and you sense that something's a little different. Nothing had come down yet, but then just the things that it kind of, Bob Myers is going to speak, Rick Welts is going to speak. So then it got elevated, and all of a sudden in real time things are changing. We're live streaming, getting calls from the desk. It's like breaking news is happening as we go. And then, you talk to Steve, and they talk about just we're not going to play in front of fans. So that's the new news of the day. And now, as we get back, we start putting this stuff in the air. Larry, we were on at 4 o'clock. We talked about what it would be like. And then you were talking about going live tomorrow at Chase Center with no fans and how that was going to work. And then the press with media access and how that was going to go. And then really in the 6 o'clock hour, President Trump speaks. And then by the end of the hour, Rudy Gobert is out and the NBA is suspended. So it was just changing by the minute. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I actually heard the news on the radio and I turned around because I was like, wow, this is just something you remember. It was breaking news as it was happening. It just was wild today. It was unreal.
Yeah, I think the two things that we're trying to come to terms with as we record this instant feedback are just how rapid everything is happening and the pure scope of the fact that the NBA is suspending the season for an undetermined amount of time. I mean, you can think of like the work stoppage from many years ago. At this point, I can't even remember how many years ago that was. But to see sports leagues first consider playing in front of no one and then just flat out suspending everything is unbelievable. And yeah, it all happened right there. I mean, in the 6 o'clock hour, we actually put on NBA TV because we heard, hey, the Thunder and the Jazz have come out to start the game, and now they're being called back. And we're like, that's weird. Let's put that on. And then next thing you know, the game's canceled. And then the news comes out almost instantly. Rudy Gobert is tested positive for coronavirus. And then immediately we start going, okay, who has he come in contact with? And we see that clip from just 2 days ago where he's touching everyone's microphone as a joke. And now you immediately think, okay, all of those people are now going to be in quarantine or checked. And then you got to wonder who that Rudy Gobert came in contact with. And so I started just looking back. Who have the Jazz played recently?
Right.
Who have the Warriors played that may have just played the Jazz? And you start just really feeling the scope of, if you're like in charge of the government's pandemic response to what is happening right now, I mean, the amazing amount of people that one person can come in contact with and the backtracking it takes, it's overwhelming. And so what we did see is that the Jazz had played the Wizards on February 28th. 2 days later, the Warriors played the Wizards. And that is in that 14-day window, so you have to wonder then who could have had it then or not had it then. And you just start thinking of all the people and the response, and it's just crazy. I mean, so far everybody on the Warriors is fine. Curry was out with the flu. He tested negative for
seasonal
coronavirus.
flu that he probably got from his son. At least that's what we were told. But you could see just from what you were describing how this can grow exponentially really, really fast. And that's why when a couple of weeks ago the Centers for Disease Control said, this is coming, it's pretty much inevitable, still a lot of people were not taking it that seriously. But when you look at the means of transmission, and this is where it's hard for people to grasp, is because it's not like the Spanish flu in the early 1900s where if you got it, it was a death sentence. One of us may have symptoms right now, or no symptoms. You could be asymptomatic but still have contact with COVID-19 and not know it you may never develop symptoms, but everybody that we might come in contact with could then develop symptoms. That's why it's really difficult to contain. And now we're seeing, I mean, nobody really knows, honestly, how to respond to this, because we see the response in China initially seemed to be a little bit slow, but then they quarantined huge cities.
And they were like building hospitals and just going all in quickly.
Right. And you're talking about quarantining 50 to 60 million people. We don't really do that here. Meanwhile, we have a mutual friend in South Korea, and I checked with him today because I was wondering, all right, is this the kind of thing where you're going to have a peak and then it's going to taper off and then we're going to sort of get back to normal life? And what he said was pretty much, people were the restaurants are open, bars are open, everybody's got masks, 90% of the people have masks. But the problem was in this one city, somebody at a school came in contact with it, and then it spread, and then there's suddenly another 1,000 cases, and instead of tapering off, we're back into crisis mode. And that's the danger with this in terms of people are constantly saying, well, the flu kills more people, or this could kill more people, or the problem is that it spreads so easily and not recognizably. And that's how you suddenly have a league shut down. We got the NCAA tournament coming up.
No fans in attendance.
No fans.
Well, we think. I mean, if the NBA shuts down,
well, that's a great point.
I mean, I
started doing the
so
math.
Far.
Yeah.
Because if you figure there's 68 teams, I mean, if you count the first 4 games, if you figure there's 15 players on each team, you're talking about 1,000 players total that would have some participation in the NCAA tournament. What are the odds?
And that's not even including coaching staff, trainers, all of those. I mean, just
Family
see how quick
members.
it is. But you're talking about how quick it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then what do? Are we shutting down the whole tournament? Or is that team forfeiting? Are they going into quarantine? I mean, I don't know how you even begin to make decisions on these types of things. I mean, look, it's sports. At the end of the day, it's a diversion. It's entertainment.
It's just a
fun.
game.
And most people, especially young people, are not going to die from this. The elderly are more at risk. So if you're a college basketball player, you're in shape, you may be down for a couple of weeks, but you're not going to suffer lifelong symptoms.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about sports, but one of the things that I really noticed that Steve Kerr, management players, they're all talking about how it affects the rest of life. You're talking about workers, people's livelihood, economy, and all those things it trickles down to. We're just talking about games which are inconsequential, but games that are put on and all the people that work around it and how that affects the economy and all kinds of things is how it's bigger than sports. And that's the crazy thing. And that was the thing that the Warriors, you could really tell that they really cared. They're like, we're going to be okay. We play basketball, but we're worried about everyone else's livelihoods, obviously their health as well and their families. But that was one of the things that I liked about what the Warriors said today. They were really concerned about everything else except basketball.
But it's one thing to be concerned, and it's another thing to help pay for all these people
Correct.
that are hourly workers that are not going to be making money because of this. There needs to be some way to help those people financially. Hopefully that's a government thing. Now, the thing that a lot of people keep saying today as we talk about this on social media is, everyone's freaking out, it's overblown, just because we may be healthier or younger and we are not in the risk age, what ends up happening is a lot of people will get into the hospitals will get overwhelmed, and then the other people with serious problems already in the hospitals aren't going to be able to get the care they need, and that's where the big problems start happening, because we don't have the amount of hospital beds available to combat the amount of people that could possibly come down to this, and then it's going to tax all the medical resources beyond belief. So it's a big problem for people that don't even have coronavirus, because you could be in dire straits in the ICU at the hospital now, and if that gets overwhelmed, they're not going to have enough people to help these other people.
Well, the other part of it is just the contact you may have with somebody. If you could go in for random problem X that you have physically, and then the whole hospital can suddenly be coronavirus hotbed.
So you're adding problems. So I mean, that's where it lies. It's not because we're super worried that Rudy Gobert is going to have coronavirus and it's going to take him out. Like, he's a young, healthy guy, he'll probably be fine. But who knows how many people he came in contact with and how many people those people are going to come in contact with, and then the chain reaction is the big problem. So I guess the question is, did the NBA do the right thing in suspending the season? I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think they had any other choice, because at the very least, the players on the Jazz will all have to be tested and or quarantined.
And the Jazz just played the Raptors, and they just played,
so
whoever else they played.
How could you have a season and you have the officials? There was an official that was supposed to work tonight's game in Sacramento between the Pelicans and the Kings, and then they did the same kind of backtracking that we were doing in the sports department and going, oh, wait a second.
Wait, this guy was here, now he's here.
Right, and now so everybody in Sacramento would be exposed to this referee. And again, you're talking about the geometric spread of this. I didn't realize that there were as many as 1,500 people that work every single Warriors game. And so, I mean, it's just the numbers really get huge in a hurry here, and there's so many ripple effects.
Yeah, and I think, Larry, we were talking about it off the air before, is that when we do come back to sports, which who knows when that is it with no fans or is it with fans? Like, what is this going to look like in the coming days, weeks? Major League Baseball is around the corner. Do you just play games in different areas? I mean,
I want to stop you there, because when I heard that, I thought that was one of the dumber suggestions I'd ever heard. Because an area that may not have COVID-19 now, tomorrow may have a lot of
It's
COVID.
hard to plan this.
So what are you going to say? You go, okay, we're going to go to Sacramento and play, we're going to go to Fresno and play, where are we going to go? And then suddenly a case pops up, or somebody has it, you don't know,
and
you
then
have
you're
it.
back off again.
Now where are we moving? We're going to keep hopscotching around the globe to find locations where we can play because we think it's safe there. I think you just have to go the no fans route. And same deal, Major League Baseball. Now you have even more players, right?
Yeah.
What is it? A 26-man roster for the Major League teams this year. So do the math on 26 times. 30 teams, and inevitably,
managers, coaches, staff, broadcasters.
Somebody is going to come down with this, because this is what's happening. If you look at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, they have a great website, and they show how this is spread around the world. And that's when I saw this online. That was one of the moments when I said, "Whoa!" Because you could go and down the left-hand column of the page, it has every country listed. And there are the places you never even heard of. I mean, there was a case reported in the middle of New Zealand. Like, how? How could you... who? What? I mean, one here, one there. The most random spots on the planet. I think I saw in the Maldives. You know how long it takes to get to the Maldives?
No, I don't.
I mean, by plane, it's like 20 hours. And you're in the middle of the ocean, literally. Mm. And so this, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny here using the old Dan Patrick line. You can't stop it. You can only hope to contain it. Mm. But that's really what it is at this point. And I think it was the CDC director who said, for people that don't understand why there is such concern, is that this is 10 times more fatal than the flu if you get it and you're in the category where you're most susceptible. Mm-hmm. And the flu, I think, kills 20,000 people a year. Then you're talking about 200,000 people at risk, high risk. So that's why, in case there's still people wondering, hey, why are they shutting down the leagues? Let's just keep playing. And there are some people who, come on,
I got them on Twitter all day.
I'll take my chances, you know. Well, that's how 18,000 people can get sick in a matter of 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. So the question going forward is, and the NBA did discuss this today, their owners were talking about pushing the season and pushing the finals back to July. I'm not sure that they even have any other choice at this point.
Yeah.
Or do we just, is this the season where there is no champion crowned?
I mean, that's the thing. You could look at it and you could say, let's push it a few weeks. But in a few weeks, who knows where we're going to be based on the pace of everything right now. I mean, it might never come back. I mean, not saying never, but I'm saying this season it might not come back.
You're talking about
just the season could end.
Because you can't just push it 2 weeks and go, all right, we're good in 2 weeks. We might be way worse in 2 weeks.
At what point is too late to cut out? Because you're going into next. I mean, it's just a weird deal. Baseball is kind of in a place where it's a long season. You can cut the games down to 100, or I don't know. I mean, it just, if the season gets canceled in the NBA like completely, when we get to a point where it's done, that'll be quite something.
Well,
we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet. And that's where you get into the economic part of this, where there's so much money at stake for the TV networks, for the league, for the players, and there's so much on the line. And then the tangential effects that we've already seen. You were talking about the economic impact with airlines just getting crushed by this, the stock market getting crushed by this,
hotels,
restaurants,
I mean, everything is impacted by a little microbe that you can't see.
Our job changes dramatically.
Well, yeah.
There are no sports for us to talk about. Not sure what we're going to be doing all day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of a news guy also, so I got a lot to talk about. Whether I like it or not. But I don't know. We're in this uncharted territory where, I mean, outside of 9/11, I can't think of a time where we just shut everything down and kind of regrouped. But that was a different situation.
Yeah, much different. In this one, I do all of our schedules for all the games and finals and all the things, and I'm just looking at it like, I just can't even think of it right now. There's no way to know. I mean, can you imagine having to schedule all the NBA teams or baseball teams at this point? You can't plan at this point. There's no plans. It's like a hopeless, stressed out feeling of just. You just sit there going, all right, like we'll just deal with it as it comes at this point.
And that was one of the sentiments. I was there at the Warriors today, and it's like no one has answers. You could tell everyone was kind of like, we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, and we don't know, and it's changing. And it really did, because people were asking questions, and I think the Warriors did a good job of answering all the questions that were there to the best of their knowledge at the time. And I think, do we know if they're speaking tomorrow? That's a possibility.
The Warriors
are a possibility
they're speaking tomorrow
to discuss. Yeah. The suspension of the season, but everybody's going to say, well, when are you planning on coming back? And nobody has the answer to that. I mean, because right now we know Rudy Gobert. We don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
But what happens when the second guy, whoever that is, and maybe that's 2 weeks from today? Because it's not like that this virus just is suddenly going to stop today.
Yeah, I think you got to wait, test everybody again. Perhaps anybody showing symptoms, and then think about playing games in empty arenas, and that's your best possible scenario.
But think about the rest of. Okay, so that's 2.5 hours that you guys are playing the game.
Yeah.
What about the other 21.5 hours that these guys are? You're going to quarantine them the whole time? I mean, how can you prevent people from coming into contact with the coronavirus when they're out doing their
living
normal,
your life.
living their life. What are you going to just say? Okay, you 15 guys, nobody moves. All right, until the next game.
Sleep in your locker.
I
mean, we might have to just NBA 2K simulate season. Boop, champion crowned, done.
Right, and then wipe down the controller because who knows?
That was one of the things Steve Kerr said when he was talking about educating his players, and he said something as small as you wouldn't think about, but like rubbing down the remote control in a hotel room. It's one of the dirtiest.
Your phone. I've been wiping down my phone crazy.
I
These
know
are the
for
dirtiest
myself.
Things we own.
I know for yourself. My habits have changed. I look and you can tell everyone. Like you just see people rubbing their hands a lot. Like everyone has changed. And I haven't been to the grocery store in a while, but I know that I've heard it's like empty.
Costco is out of
toilet paper for some reason.
And I don't know. There's
everyone needs toilet paper right now. It's the weirdest thing.
I think people are thinking that they're going to be quarantined for a couple of weeks, so you better get the supplies you need.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean the Purell and all that stuff, all the
washing of the hands.
I mean, what we really need now is, I'm not trying to be funny, but seriously, is moisturizer, because your hands become so dry and chapped, and then now we need. So then that'll be the next run at Costco.
Lotion.
People are making. I gotta get the lotion. I gotta get it. But I don't know. The more I start to just process this, I'm thinking that I don't know how or when that they can resume the season. I don't know. How do you start the baseball season? You're a baseball guy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think. And who knows what's happened even in the time that we haven't really been on Twitter to see what honestly what has happened.
Could all be different.
You know how much has changed. But
the NHL tomorrow.
The NHL tomorrow.
Make a decision.
The NHL tomorrow, and you feel like if the NBA suspends its season, why wouldn't everyone else follow? Like, how can anyone else say, yeah, we're still going to play, whether it's empty arena or not? It's just like if the NBA and the big global brand that it is says we're not playing, and again, granted, someone has it, right? So that probably plays into it, but. Everyone's been talking about risk factor and no fans and limited fans in like some of these college tournaments and March Madness. But baseball starts around the corner. They have a couple of weeks before they start, but you almost have to start thinking about just minimizing games. Again, baseball's in a little bit of a zone where they have some time, but basketball, March Madness, especially March Madness, is what's going to happen.
Yeah, we already know the A's first homestand is basically out at this point. You're not going to the Oakland Coliseum to see the A's play the Twins or the Astros.
They may play, but in an
not
empty
in Oakland
stadium.
I mean, they're trying to figure it out right now.
You're talking about they won't even play with
opening
no fans?
Series. I mean, they're talking about how to figure it out right now. So, I mean, that's one of those things where everything is just going haywire at the moment. So, worldview is out of control.
You asked the question, and I hate to be this cynical about it, but the NCAA, their sole source of funding is this basketball tournament.
Sure. No,
and it's hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars, whatever it is. You can imagine a room full of those guys going, "Oh, we got to find a way to play somehow."
I mean, that is cynical, but at the same time, just hours ago when it first came out that the NBA might consider suspending the season, I seriously looked at you and said, "No way, they're going to do it. The money, they won't do it." And then moments later, they did it because a player came down, and that's it. I mean, kudos to them. They pulled the plug so fast that
Rick Welch said today, because he was asked the question, how much you lose, and it's several $1 million a game in revenue. It's a lot. And
if you're March Madness NCAA tournament, this is it. This is your bread and butter here. So much more to figure out and discuss and discover, and man, it's just unbelievable.
I mean, you're not even talking about the cruise ship people that have been still stuck on the boat.
Yeah. My grandma was set to board that boat.
Wow.
On a cruise.
The Grand Princess?
The Grand Princess.
Same boat?
The very same boat.
You talked her out of it, I hope.
No, it was supposed to come back and dock in San Francisco. Then she was getting on the next ride it was going on. And naturally, she's not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
And then even crazier, when the president announced the travel ban from Europe, my dad was 30 minutes away from boarding a flight to the United Kingdom. I called him, like, don't get on the plane. But they said the travel exemption allowed for you to go to and from the United Kingdom. So he's going. It's like, that's how crazy close it gets to you, though.
Well, also,
I don't know how they do it.
And decisions are being made in real time and not necessarily being communicated that effectively is what we're seeing here. Because nobody has been through this before. There's no handbook. There's no guidebook. There's nothing to follow that says, okay, if this, then do this. If this, then do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we go from here, but
there was a lot of outrage from players talking about some of the college tournaments, and they're like, we want to play. Like if you're a senior that probably has never played basketball, you think about some of the kids, your last chance to play, and then you're talking about no fan. I mean, like you feel for. There's a lot of people involved, whether it's a basketball player or the people that are helping put on the arena. The scope of it and how fastly it spreads and who it affects. It affects everybody. And again, who knows what's happened in the last half hour that we've been talking.
All right, we should wrap it up then.
Yeah. So you can check Twitter.
So I can check Twitter.
See what else has happened in the world.
Oh my gosh.
He was on his way home and he turned around and came back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
So stay tuned. We'll see. I mean, and it is day by day at this point. Who knows who else turns up positive? The NHL tomorrow will make a decision about whether to play games with no fans or just to shut the whole thing down. And
I was thinking about the NFL draft in Vegas, how fun that was going to be. And I don't
all of these everything. Although Vegas, I got an email from a hotel in Vegas today saying, "Come on down, we're open, we're good."
But someone was talking about casino. Do you really want to be touching all those things and going in casino?
Well, the slot machine. I mean, everybody's grabbing the slot machine. Where are you gonna have people with gloves doing the slot? I hit the jackpot. I don't know. I mean, all you could do is just try to get through the day and see what happens tomorrow. But we're clearly in uncharted waters, and we're going to be there, I think, for a while. And with that, we say aloha. With authority!